Captain's log. While exploring an uncharted star system in the Deneb sector, we received what we think is a message from a distress beacon on Onias 2. We're en route to investigate.
Approaching Onias 2, Captain.
It may be nothing, Captain, but a scan of the planet's atmosphere indicates a high concentration of rare gases trapped in the planet's magnetosphere. Atmospheric disturbances could produce random radio waves.
It wouldn't be the first time, Mr. Spock, but we'll never be able to tell if we don't check it out. After all, to seek out new life and new civilizations is our mission, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
A split infinitive, Captain.
What?
The proper grammatical expression is to go boldly where no man has gone before.
Somehow, I think it loses a little in the translation.
We are too far from the planet for a detailed sensor probe, Captain.
Entering standard orbit.
No signal from the planet other than the distress beacon, sir. Captain, our sensors will not be particularly useful to you while you're down there, and communications may be erratic, sir.
We'll be fine, Lieutenant. What reason is there to worry?
I'm afraid, Captain, there are plenty of precedents. We'll be here if you need us.
I have no doubt of that.
I have tracked the signal to its source. It is near the life forms. The rest of the planet is quite desolate. No sign of life or technology. The atmosphere is thin, but breathable, and I detect numerous micrometeorite hits.
There are 3 unformed planets in this system. It's no wonder. There are so many micrometeorites. I'm surprised any Class M planet hasn't been pulverized by now.
It is not inconceivable, but it is certainly unusual.
Let's do it, Spock. You, McCoy, and I. Oh, and tell Bones to see if a genetic specialist's available. If there are only 2 life forms, we might be privileged to see life at its earliest stages.
Skeleton after the vultures have picked it clean.
A fascinating analogy, Doctor. Captain, the locus of the distress signal is in that building.
I think the doctor is right. Anything good here died a long time ago. It feels creepy to me.
Thank you for that opinion, Mr. Johns. I'll be certain to use creepy in my log entry about this.
Save new game. Replay.
This world is almost completely barren. The only life forms I can detect are nearby. The ozone layer is sufficient to allow the world to support life, but the lack of water vapor in the atmosphere makes survival marginal at best.
I tell you, Jim, if I could get my operating room as sterile as this planet, I'd be overjoyed. I tell you, Jim, if I could get my operating room as sterile as this planet, I'd be overjoyed. To hand it to whoever built this place. All this equipment looks brand new and in good repair.
Let's hope the Enterprise looks this good when it's this old.
We should be very careful about how we proceed, Captain. I have a strange feeling that evil is lurking nearby.
Evil, Ensign?
Something that wants to imperil our souls, sir. We must avoid that at all costs.
Aside from some dust and dirt and a small chemical deposit on the intake nozzle, this DNA replicator appears to be in the same condition that it was 50,000 years ago. This DNA sequencer appears to be nearly 50,000 years old, yet it has not broken down and appears to be fully powered. Aside from some dust and dirt and a small chemical deposit on the intake nozzle, this DNA replicator appears to... Fascinating. I had not thought you capable of an act of meaningless violence. A unique use of a phaser, but adequate for removing the deposits from the apparatus. I recommend against illogical actions, Captain.
I welcome you, otherworlders. I beseech you, save us from that which seeks our destruction.
How fitting for a devil to appear on a world that looks like hell.
Enough of that, Mr. Johns. This is just another xenobiological entity.
Correction, Doctor. This is a projection of a xenobiological entity.
Jim, the only life form readings are within that machine behind the portal. Single-cell organisms with an extremely high reproductive rate, but a very poor metabolism and an extremely short lifespan.
So when do the wicked witches and goblins show up?
That's telling him, Captain.
Such contempt is undeserved. You must already serve the others.
Greetings, I am James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. What can we do for you?
I am Visner of the Alphan people. Our race possessed this world and thrived here until the invasion by the forces of light. We are locked in a death struggle with them, for they desire our destruction. Do you aid them?
No, we do not aid them. Wars and destruction are not things we value, Visner. Our prime directive prevents us from interfering in internal struggles, but at the request of all parties, we might negotiate a compromise.
You open yourself to confusion in speaking with Azra, but it is understandable that you want to hear his side before acting. My assessment of you suggests that most of you will fight the clouding of logic and will see through Azra's deception. Please report to me your success.
Greetings, gentle beings, and welcome. I am Azra of the Omegan people. You are the salvation we have long sought. Thank you for answering our summons.
An angel!
Actually, it is a projected image of an angel, Mr. Johns.
Jim, somewhere in that machine behind the portal are single-cell organisms. They have a healthy metabolism and long lifespan, but an extremely low rate of reproduction.
Greetings, I am James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise. What can we do for you?
I am Azra of the Omegan people, an ancient and venerable race which labors to prevent the domination of this world by the forces of darkness. We require you to expunge this place of our mortal enemies.
Captain, the most worthwhile purpose in life is to fight against the forces of darkness. We must help him.
Our prime directive prohibits us from taking part in wars on one side or the other. It would be seen as intervention. We are willing to negotiate a compromise.
You imperil your soul by conversing with the enemy, that sugar-tongued Visner. I cannot protect you, but I do not imagine I can dissuade you either. Go, do what you must. I do not have that much time, but will be here if you seek to comply with my request.
There's no need to leave. We've already talked with Visner. I have to say that I find many of your claims insupportable.
Insupportable? How can you defend a race whose very existence is based upon deceit and foul lies?
Foul lies? Their position
Captain, they're as different as angels and demons.
Similarities? They are beings of shadow. They mock our perfection. They are our antithesis, created after we were to destroy us and our potential for good.
You said they were created after you were. How do you know that?
We know we came first because that is what our sacred scriptures tell us. In the light we were born and commanded to shun that which dwells in darkness. This clearly tells us that we came first. Surely you can see that. Or is it that you have some other interpretation of the event that birthed the Omegans?
Does your sacred scriptures explicitly say that no beings were created before you?
Dare you suggest they came first?
Let's see what we've got. 2 single-celled organisms, each incapable of survival on their own. One lives in light, the other lives in darkness. Each must live a limited and unstable life without the other.
Captain, do you know what you're doing?
Allow us to unite you again. Your combined strengths will make you a viable entity again.
The persuasiveness of your arguments has opened for me a door through which I spy a future and a truth that I have long denied. You are correct. Perhaps being only half of a whole, I could not see the solution. Yes, I desire your help for my people. Help us.
The sample dish feels warm to the touch.
I am reactivating Visner, Captain.
Was it not as I said it would be? Are not the Omegans a fanatical race, uninterested in anything but fulfilling some self-contradictory messianic destiny for themselves? I assume they filled your heads with their warped theology.
Frankly, Visner, Azra is certainly committed to his cause, but hardly the blood-mad fanatic you describe him to be.
We were not fooled by your lies about him, demon.
Ensign Johns is overstating his point. Azra's enthusiasm for his position did not bring with it a skewing of perspective that places him outside the range of reality.
Azra is capable of reason and tolerance. You can make peace with the Omegans.
Peace? They want us dead. From the moment of their invasion, they have desired our destruction. The only chance for our survival is a return to the time before the invasion, which means their death.
You want to return to a time before the invasion, but how do you know what that truly means?
We know we came first because they invaded us. An invasion suggests they came to take away that which we possessed. Clearly you can see that.
How do you know they didn't exist on this world before you encountered them?
Do you further suppose they came first and we invaded them?
I see there are only single-celled organisms here, each with a defect. Perhaps at one time, the Alpha and Omega life forms were united. A strong, viable species that became divided. Only by reuniting can you hope to survive. And only through mutual cooperation and our help can you reunite.
Captain, this thing is evil. We can't unite them.
Your position is unassailable and points out the one and only purpose for our races. Thank you, Captain Kirk, for making me see that. Yes, I desire your help for my people. Help us.
You take the alpha sample, which feels cold to the touch.
I don't know why, but I could not get a good sampling. This sample sequence is like a dream. Captain, we have to run a set of source samples through the sequencer before I can make a composite sample with the replicator.
Ensign, these Alphans and Omegans are single-celled creatures. Those projections are only constructs. Examine them yourself. Could their DNA produce creatures like Azra and Visner?
Single cells. You're right. I've been a real idiot, judging a book by its cover. I suppose I should take a refresher course in Aesop.
It wouldn't hurt. Some of the wisest people in history have written for children.
Thank you, sir. I hope you'll give me a chance to correct my mistakes. Do you think we're really meant to combine the two races?
You've programmed the sequences. You can tell whether they're compatible.
Sir, the sequencer indicates that they need to be combined for their continual survival. But how did you know?
I listened to Dr. McCoy. It seemed the logical conclusion, given the evidence.
Thank you, Captain.
I am producing a new culture, Captain. Captain, the genetic sequence is still stored in the computer. If we need another sample, the replicator can generate it. I officially christen this life form the Gammons.
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Well, Jim, it doesn't look like it does anything. Oh, I guess I spoke too soon. It took it in. It looks as if the colony is getting a foothold in there.
Life energy levels are spiking. They're building to a level sufficient for sending out a signal 100 times stronger than the one that brought us here, Captain.
The Gammon sample appears to be thriving in this environment.
Thank you for your hard work. You have fulfilled the design for which we were created. I am authorized to tell you. Thank you for your hard work. You have fulfilled the design for which we were created. I am authorized to tell you.
It would appear there is more to this message than we are receiving.
Kirk to Uhura, are you receiving any strange subspace or radio signals?
Captain, there is a neutrino-based transmission being broadcast near your current position from a point of unknown origin, probably from another star system. Our equipment is not designed to handle it. Though given 1 to 2 weeks, we might be able to identify patterns and extrapolate what it's trying to say.
We'll work on the problem from here. Kirk out.
The array appears to have deployed recently, which explains its lack of damage. The focal point of the dish is aligned approximately 35 degrees above the horizon.
An antenna. I wonder what it was meant for.
That's what we're here to find out, Mr. Johns.
Captain, until power has been returned to these controls, there is nothing I can do. This appears to be similar to Federation technology, Captain. Its control principles are similar to the Medaille sensor dish on Vulcan. It has locked the array at a 35-degree angle. Without knowledge of the code control sequence, I cannot adjust it. I also detect that its power core is not functioning. It operates on geothermal energy, tapping into heat from the ground below. Captain, although this rock formation does indirectly lead to the thermal core, I suggest finding an area that would allow a more direct transfer of energy. The energy level is insufficient, Captain. We cannot generate the energy level needed to provide geothermal energy with hand phasers.
If it's thermal energy you want, Jim, I remember this planet that used a starship's phasers on a microwave setting to heat the surrounding rock to provide temporary power.
An interesting observation, Doctor. We could use the same technique here, but the beam would have to be extremely precise. If we targeted the wrong section, we could melt the rock and destroy the array. This appears to be the most accessible spot to heat the rocks below the ground and generate geothermal energy for the array.
Kirk to Enterprise. Sulu, can you read me?
Sulu here, Captain. How can I help you?
The Enterprise should broadcast a low-level microwave beam at the coordinates I am sending.
We have them, Mr. Spock. Get ready. Stand away from the blast area.
Stand by, ready for weapons position.
Sending microwaves now.
Temperature near the power coupling is rising rapidly. I estimate a below-ground temperature of 345 degrees Kelvin is required to reactivate the array. It is at 320, 330, 335, 340, 345, 350.
Shut off the beam, Mr. Sulu.
Affirmative, Captain.
The array is now drawing power. we were successful.
This looks like the computer control for a SETI dish, except for some of those weird symbols.
We're ready to assist in any way we can, Captain. Squad out.
I am now attempting to realign the device to 32.5 degrees. It should now be correctly aligned.
For your aid in constituting my people and in the unexpected necessary realignment of our communications array. You have performed admirably. Of the 16 stations reporting at this point, there have been 50% fatalities, 30% other failures, and only 20% successes. One group got points for style.
Points for style? Is this some sort of game? Not another alien race with a superiority complex. Who are you this time? Your appreciation is welcome, but many questions remain unanswered. Who are you?
I am Sisissa, a projection of a synthesis of Azra and Visner. Clearly you know that the primitive life forms you have been dealing with are incapable of creating that in which you now stand. You will also note that the more demonic of the creatures displayed a passivity you did not expect, while the morally pure creature was aggressive and bloodthirsty.
The contradictions were noted and duly dealt with. I take it you were testing us on our ability to deal with disparate and contradictory inputs.
Yes, your reasoning ability was being tested, as well as your ability to adapt to new ideas when they conflict with deeply held beliefs and cultural customs. You passed quite admirably. The Brassica were impressed.
I'm not clear on who the Brassica are.
Captain, from this site, I can deduce various things about the Brassica. They are taller and more slender than we are. They are possessed of 3 fingers and a thumb on each hand. I suppose bilateral symmetry, and I know they possess greater visual acuity than humans. They visited this place well before humans had left the Cro-Magnon stage of development. And I note they have avoided detection by us, and presumably every other race in the universe, before they decided to send out signals to bring us to their bases.
Thank you, Mr. Spock.
And more you shall know as you continue on the quest. I wish you luck.
Kirk to Enterprise, Scotty, 4 to beam up.
Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end.
In this case, Bones, a new beginning. We were the midwives for the rebirth of a life form. 2 halves that have been made whole again. That's the way it was meant to be.
And let us hope that this is the end of Ensign John's prejudices.
We can all learn to stop judging people by appearances. Ensign Johns might have done well to remember the biblical representation of Lucifer, appearing in the guise of an angel of light.
You can never trust anybody, and people who look like pointy-eared hobgoblins are definitely at the bottom of the list.
It appears that Dr. McCoy did not learn the lesson of this mission either. Unfortunate, but not unexpected.
Fortunately, the Alphans and the Omegans learned philosophy and personal belief are not as easily divorced from logic as some would believe. We humans attain our greatest fulfillment when both of them are united.
Really, Captain?
Really? But I've had enough philosophy for one day. I'd rather worry about these Brassica and their cosmic quest.
Well, with me aboard, we're sure to get points for style.
Many questions remain unanswered, Captain.
And there's only one way to answer them.
Captain, message from Starfleet.
Bring it up, Lieutenant.
I reviewed your report from your recent assignment, Captain, and have a few comments. Well done, Kirk. Keep up the good work. I must say, however, your performance is not what we've come to expect from James T. Kirk. I guess we all have our off days, Captain. Kane out.
Ahead, Mr. Sulu. Warp Factor 5.
Leaving orbit. Increasing to warp factor 5.